Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langete kirim yad kripatamam vande Shri Gurum Deemtarinam Paramanandamatam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Hariham Tatsat. So we'll try to conclude the reading from our book, Vaisnava Ke, What Kind of Devotee Are You? This is a Bengali poem by His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The verse translation and the quotes are from His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and commentary by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami. Today is also the Vyas Puja of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami, our Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj ki jai. So we'll continue reading from the verse 19. Therefore, the pure devotees of the Lord do not renounce preaching the glories of the Lord to engage in nirjan bhajan or solitary worship. This is a cheating tactic that neophyte Kanishta devotees employ to fool worldly people who don't know what real spiritual life is. In Vrindavan, I have seen famous Vaishnavas, so-called spiritual leaders, dressed up with various symbols of the Vaishnavas. But when a foreign Christian missionary Padre personally visited Vrindavan and met all these so-called spiritual masters and inquired from them the real nature of Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes, they did not explain to him the truths about Lord Krishna and devotional service. This is because they are actually neophyte or the Kanishta devotees who cannot properly understand the real conclusions of the Vedic literatures. In the name of Nirjan Bhajan solitary worship, they are simply searching where to beg their daily chapatis and dal, that is the bread and soup. This is from Vrindavane Bhajan, text 20. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and no one can do what he said. Just as it is not authorized for the followers of Lord Jesus Christ to blindly imitate Lord Jesus and crucify themselves as a means of salvation, so similarly the followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should not artificially imitate his final pastimes of Nirjan Bhajan. Nor is possible for anyone to duplicate Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic madness in love of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave clear instructions to his followers on how to practice the Krishna conscious Bhakti Yoga system. Since Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supreme Enjoyer, it is appropriate if he enjoys listening to his pastimes with his intimate devotees. Devotees following Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have a different obligation, and that is to carry out the instructions of Lord Chaitanya and certainly never to blindly imitate Lord Chaitanya. A devotee is the enjoyed and thus should try to satisfy and give pleasure to the Lord by following his instructions. During his pastimes in Jagannath Puri, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the following instructions to his confidential devotees. In great jubilation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, My dear Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, know from me that chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the most feasible means of salvation in this age of Kali. In this age of Kali, the process of worshipping Krishna is to perform sacrifice by chanting the holy name of the Lord. One who does so is certainly very intelligent, and he attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can be freed from all undesirable habits. This is the means of awakening all good fortune and initiating the flow of waves of love for Krishna. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antilila, chapter 20, verses 8 to 11. Love of Krishna is easily available by following the instructions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and chanting the holy names of Krishna in Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught his direct disciples like the 6 Goswamis, who in turn compiled these instructions in the form of different literatures. Subsequently, the generations of spiritual masters immediately following the 6 Goswamis were engaged in distributing and explaining the literatures containing the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Narottam Das, one of the great acharyas of the disciplic succession, wrote a verse praising the confidential devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as actually being the energies of the Lord. He explained that some of these energies were engaged in compiling the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the transcendental Vedic literatures, and other devotee energies were engaged in distributing these transcendental literatures. Narottam Das considered both to be most intimately engaged in the confidential service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The spiritual masters coming in the disciplic succession from the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested pure love of Krishna while absorbed in their devotional service of writing or distributing the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Real followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be wise to follow in the footsteps of the perfected spiritual masters in this disciplic succession by uninterruptedly remaining engaged in loudly chanting and hearing the glories of the holy names of Krishna, and carefully avoiding committing offences like artificially imitating Lord Chaitanya's or Haridas Thakur's solitary worship. The spiritual life of Srila Prabhupada was totally dedicated to following the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and is therefore an ideal example to follow. Srila Prabhupada was always absorbed at every moment in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and thus tasting nectar at every step. Srila Prabhupada's biography is filled with practical examples of this fact. He trained his disciples to take up more responsibility to prepare them to manage the worldwide Krishna consciousness movement in his physical absence. He also desired to free time for himself to complete his writing and translation of important Vedic literatures, which would serve as spiritual foundations for hundreds or thousands of years to come. Srila Prabhupada's expressed objective was to complete the entire 60-volume Srimad Bhagavatam series during his lifetime. Considering that he wrote while traveling all over the world and managing a worldwide religious movement, an almost impossible task, it was nothing less than a miraculous that he was able to personally write and oversee the publishing of 30 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as another 60 volumes of other translations and commentaries on the Vedic literature. Srila Prabhupada continued his marathon translation work on a daily basis until the day before his departure from this mortal world. His request to the followers was for all the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to be translated and published in all the languages of the world and then distributed to people in every country of the world. This enthusiasm and dedication for glorifying the Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, far and wide, aptly demonstrates the proper attitude of a proper pure devotee engaged in the confidential devotional service to the Lord. After having purified the mind with so many pertinent instructions in the previous verses, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur expresses the faith in the process and determination to perpetuate the loud chanting of the holy names of Krishna. According to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the mind may become distracted by many different ideas for ways of practicing Krishna consciousness, colored by various impure desires. Therefore, after purifying the mind with transcendental knowledge, the devotee can fix the mind on the instructions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as they are, and fully engage himself in hearing, chanting, and spreading the glories of the holy names of Krishna all over the world to the best of his ability. If one, after all these beautiful lessons, the mind is still thinking of giving up the loud Sankirtan chanting of the holy names of Krishna and becoming absorbed in simply remembering the loving pastimes of the Lord, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's statement completely eradicates this doubt. Kirtan prabhave smarana swabhave se kale bhajan nirjan sambhava. The congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna will awaken in you the transcendental quality of natural spontaneous remembrance of the Lord, including the Lord's form, qualities, and pastimes. At the time, you will be able to realize and practice confidential loving devotional service to their Lordship Radha Krishna. From these transcendental instructions, it is clear that it is not practicing separate or solitary devotional service that one becomes realized, rather by engaging in the loud chanting and preaching of the glories of the holy names of the Krishna, one becomes truly advanced in devotional service and thus achieves pure love of Krishna. One of the unique qualities of Bhakti Yoga is that the process and the goal is pure devotional service. Since the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's is a pure representation of Bhakti Yoga, it is only natural that the process and goal are also the same. Externally, both a neophyte and a liberated soul are engaged in chanting the holy names of Krishna. The difference is in the internal realization of the chanting and not in the outward practice. The beginner in devotional service may not experience transcendental ecstasy and thus may chant the holy names of Krishna mechanically or out of sense of duty. But as the devotee advances stage by stage in Krishna consciousness without apparent cause, he becomes detached from sense gratification and gains transcendental knowledge. Simultaneously, the devotee's spontaneous remembrance of an attraction for Krishna increases as well. Thus, by the practice of Sankirtan, the loud chanting of the holy names of Krishna, the devotee becomes irrevocably established in pure love of Krishna. Of this there is no doubt. Om Tat Sat. So this was the beautiful translation of the Bengali poem by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, and the purports and also the commentaries, extensive commentaries given by His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur ki jai, Srila Jayapataka Guru Maharaj ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.